How's it going, everybody? Today I wanted to go over the 2022 roadmap for the infected. So we're going to check out this site that's kind of compiled all of the news straight from the developer as far as what changes are coming soon to the infected in 2022. So some of these are pretty much confirmed to be coming, and others are just community submissions that the developer is considering. So we're going to go through all those and see what could be possibly coming in the future. The first thing that caught my eye, so he's pretty much confirmed that there's not going to be any multiplayer added to the game. If we look here at the Steam page for the infected, you scroll down and you go to most of the reviews, the majority of them, even some of the positive ones, are saying that they want co-op. So like these three right here, all saying they want co-op. And I think that's going to help build up the player base now as an early access game and also in the future. If you look at a game like The Forest, that game still has a pretty solid player base, mainly due to the co-op. We'll see what happens with that. Maybe he'll kind of reconsider and change that in the future. He does address the concern some players have. Basically, people want to be able to craft more items in bulk. But I guess kind of the gist of this is he kind of wants to keep it more of like a realistic game. Crafting, say, 10 items in the same time frame as crafting one isn't very realistic. So I guess he's trying to keep an element of realism there. The game still does have that issue where if you build your base, say, on a grassy area, the foliage will actually peek through and kind of stick out through the floor of your base, through the foundation, which doesn't look that great. And as of right now, there's no way to get rid of it. The only real suggestion he has is to build up your base higher so the foliage doesn't peek through. It would probably require, a wipe in order to address that issue, but we'll see what happens with that. There's also no plans to add any guns in the game, but we are going to be getting some more projectile and ranged weapons in the future. And the field of view slider will remain at 100. And then the next section, we have some possibles from the community. So let's see what we got here. So please remember, this list is not promised. These are just community suggestions of interest to the developer. So in the game menu, setting to handle tree regrowth rate, bind key to open food bag. I'm surprised that doesn't already exist. I feel like that'd be pretty easy to implement, just to add an extra key bind to bring up the bag of food rather than clicking your inventory and then having to move over every time. And then the ability to toggle lightning flashes or make them optional. So I guess some people have some kind of a light sensitivity, some flash sensitivity. So also sometimes the thunder sounds just come in and they got to adjust the volume of those, I think, sometimes, because they come in pretty loud, pretty bassy. Okay, and also the ability to label the beds to choose your own respawn point. So right now, if you build multiple beds, you have to be near a certain bed and then assign that one as your respawn point. So that would be a good change. Let's see what else we got. Yeah, there's a lot of them in this section. Let me just find the ones that I think are kind of interesting. So upgrade concrete railings to metal railings. Quick swap tools by using mouse wheel. Guess that would be helpful. Controller support partial. Searchable crafting menu. That would be huge because right now it's still kind of hard to get through the menu sometimes, especially if you don't play for a week or two and you come back to it. It can be hard to figure out what item you have to build. One thing they could do is, like, if you want to craft an item, there should be an option to say mark it, and then it'll show the required ingredients in the top right. I think like a game like Subnautica does that. You can mark an item, and on the top right of the screen, it'll show the ingredients you need in order to make it. That'll make it easier. That way you don't have to keep going back and forth into the menu and then constantly like searching back and forth for what items you need. And then photography mode, or a way to hide all in-game UI aspects for screenshots. That'd be good, especially for content creators. Right now, I just kind of use a screenshot and then I Photoshop out the stuff on the bottom for the HUD. And then enhancements to the death penalty. So that could be good. I mean, right now when you die, you lose some health. Another thing that'd be cool is some kind of leveling system. So rather than just eating food and increasing your stats, maybe every time you kill an enemy, instead of just getting a random item, it will kind of level you up in a certain way. So some kind of skill tree, I think, would be a welcome addition, in my opinion. Because right now, when you kill enemies, I mean, they'll usually drop an item, but like I said, it's random. You can kill an animal for meat, you can kill a Bambi for an item, or just to get them off your back, but there's no other incentive besides just getting some item from them, which you may or may not need. This is really interesting. So there is some plans to add a friendly AI system. So if you look in the description of the game, the lore, it says that you're going to look for some lost campers. So maybe that's what it's referring to. So if we look in here, so it's going to be kind of like a settlement system. So if you rescue the friendly AI, you'll be able to bring them back, and then you'll have a pre-built home for them. And I think in this other section, it said you'll be able to equip the AI with weapons, and they'll be able to complete certain tasks for you, like farming and defending your base. So that could be kind of interesting. And then list of new possible items. So we got prefab homes for the friendly AI. And then, yeah, just a few like generic, very generic type of changes here. These are all well and good, but I think increasing the overall threat from enemies should be priority number one, in my opinion. One of the last updates, they said they were going to have Vambies that kind of patrol the map and fight you in a group, but we haven't seen anything like that in the updates. And I read all through this and I didn't see any mention of that at all. So as far as the map and environment, let's see what we got here. So a map change would require a restart to the current game saves. I mean, at this point, if you're making a huge change to the map and improving it greatly, I don't think most players would mind starting from scratch. That wouldn't be that big of a deal, at least to me. Designated biomes would be the home to specific wildlife and resources like ore, fish, and lakes, new points of interest, and then changes to ore mining. Basically, what this is saying is instead of placing mineral extractors on each different mining site, you would have to go to different caves to mine each resource. So that would make exploring the entire map a little bit more necessary, because as of right now, you can pretty much stay on one corner of the map and mine all the resources you need. There's not a real incentive to explore the entire map. Everything kind of gets a little bit repetitive after a while. And this is pretty interesting too. So this was actually just posted. So there will be nodes of coal, which I'll have to mine in each cave, rather than just passively mining it through a mineral extractor. And I guess the goal here is to get rid of that excess amount of coal, because once you set up a few mineral extractors, I mean, I just end up throwing the coal on the ground and getting rid of it because you only really need a certain amount of it. And then we have some changes as far as wildlife. See if I can pull this up here. You'll be able to put animals in a cart to harvest them later, kind of like a butcher table here. It's shown here. If you look on the bottom left, butcher table. So you'll be able to use food traps to lure animals into a pen or pasture. You'll basically be able to farm animals. So they're going to add chickens and goats. So essentially, instead of just harvesting meat from animals, you'll be able to get things like milk, feathers, eggs, wool, and bacon. Yeah, captured animals will have food and water requirements, or they will die. They will breed, produce offspring, and have an age and gender. Okay. As far as the enemy AI, it's a possibility of bosses and mini-bosses, improved difficulty of horde knights. Oh wow, the enemies could get stronger as time goes on. I did notice in one of the recent updates, they got rid of the ranged attack. Previous versions, the Vambies would throw kind of like a knife at you. So that might be brought back with either a bow or a spear. And then new types of Vambies, okay. And the continual tweaking of the behavior. In my experience, I mean, I've been playing this game a little over a year or so. There hasn't been a ton of changes to the Vambies, aside from the way they look. They've definitely improved the models a little bit, but as far as the way they attack bases and stuff, the pathing and stuff looks pretty much the same, and obviously it's not great the way they act right now. And then possibility of adding shields, so that would be really good. That would allow the developer to increase the damage and difficulty of the AI when you have a shield, especially if you're adding ranged attacks to the enemies. Because if an enemy is throwing spears at you and shooting you and there's multiple of them, you can't really, I mean, I guess you can dodge them, but if you had a shield, that would add an extra kind of wrinkle to the difficulty. That'd be pretty nice. What do we got here? Pending idea, glow. Item glow for some items like sticks to make things easier to see. And I guess is that supposed to be like a crossbow bolt or something, or an arrow there? That would actually be helpful because half the time the stuff gets stuck underneath the map. Matter of fact, I don't really recognize this part of the map. This looks like it might be some new area that he's playing around with. Even this right here, I don't know if I can pull this up. Yeah. I don't know if it's all because it's all cleared out. I don't really recognize these mountains here. So this might be a new biome that he's working with, a new area of the map. Here's a few more details about the friendly AI system that could possibly be coming soon. So friendly AI that can be rescued. They would require housing to join your settlement. They would help with your base defense but need weapons. They can perform basic dictated tasks and they would require food. Okay. So it's just more stuff you can add onto your base. The developer is definitely focusing on the base building elements. I feel like we need more of a pathway towards an end game. So maybe the bosses or mini bosses, like I read before, will kind of fix that. Let me know in the comments below what changes you like, which ones you don't like. One thing that I didn't see mentioned here is the electrical system. So that electrical system update came out December 17th. To be honest, I'm not a huge fan of it. I mean, when they added it, I kind of played around with it. It looked like it was fairly well done, but it's not a feature that really makes me want to play the game, to be honest. Meticulously wiring different components together. I mean, it could be kind of fun, but I find it to be a little bit tedious personally. It's not the most engaging experience. So hopefully there's some kind of tweaks with that because right now, like I said, it is kind of tedious, and I feel like I'm working rather than playing a game when I'm trying to wire these electrical components together. So let me know what you think in the comments down below. As always, make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you guys next time.